Hello, this is a demonstration of the Metro Grid Web part being added to a page multiple times. This is a new feature as the web part previously could only be added to a page once. The web part uses jQuery and Ajax heavily to handle the reading, creating, and updating of tiles. Due to this design, it is difficult to target the correct web part when more than one is added. However, with this recent release, a solution has been found that will allow you to add more than one web part to a page. The one downside is when more than one web part is found on the page, both will be put into read-only mode. But the web parts will actually be views to other Metro Grid web parts in your site. Those other web parts will allow you to manage your tiles normally. To see this in action, I've created the following demonstration. In my test site, I have the Site Pages Wiki library, and I've created 3 pages: Grid 1, Grid 2, and Grid All. Both Grid 1 and Grid 2 will have the web part added to it only once, and Grid All will have the web part added to it twice. However, you'll actually only manage the tiles through Grid 1 and Grid 2, even though both of them will be viewed in read-only mode on Grid All. So let's go ahead and see it. So on Grid 1, we have the Metro Grid web part here already added to the page. Let's go ahead and add a tile. And let's change the color. Let's go over to Grid 2, the other page. And we see on this page, the web part has also already been added with no tiles. So let's go ahead and add another tile. And let's change the color of this tile. And there it is. Now, if we go over to Grid All, we'll see that two web parts have been added to the page already, and neither of these web parts have any tiles added. However, they're in read-only mode, so you cannot go ahead and you can't add or manage your tiles. They're strictly just going to be pulled. But what we can do is edit the web part, and we could change the web part ID. This is when new tiles are added by default, the web part ID is used to join that tile with the web part that it should be rendered with. And the tile itself is being saved in a list in the root site of your site collection. So, if I want this web part to pull tiles from a certain web part, like for instance Grid 1, then let's go ahead and jump over to Grid 1. Let's go ahead and edit the web part properties for that web part, and let's copy the web part ID. Let's go back over to Grid All, let's paste, and let's go ahead and save. And give it a refresh. You'll now notice that Grid 1, the first web part on the page, still being in read-only mode, is pulling the tiles from Grid 1 page. And we could do the same thing for Grid 2. Edit the web part. While that's loading, let's jump over to Grid 2 page. Let's edit the web part. Let's copy the web part ID. And let's go ahead and paste it and replace the web part ID. And save. And refresh. And there you go. You have one page with the Metro Grid web part added to it multiple times, each web part pulling tiles from its own location. They are in read-only mode, but if you ever need to edit the tiles, for example, for Grid 1 or Grid 2, you go to those pages, and here I can change the tiles. For instance, if I change the color back to blue, and save, go back to Grid All, you'll now see a blue tile instead of a green tile. I hope this explains everything. Thanks.